Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Millsaps College, welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us tonight for this special occasion. I am Bryan, a member of the class of 1993 and the Executive Director of Alumni and Parent Relations. Our office and the Alumni Association are so happy to sponsor this celebration, where the college brings together all of our alumni winners to be recognized for their accomplishments in leadership, philanthropy, and service. It is my pleasure to introduce Marty Smith, the Vice President of Institutional Advancement, who joined the Millsaps family in January 2022.
Thank you, Leanne. Good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here. My second spring alumni weekend at Millsaps, and it's an honor to be here, and I'm excited and say a special welcome to each of you back to campus. I'd certainly appreciate all of you being here tonight, and we're certainly honored to be recognizing the men and women who have distinguished themselves in their fields and so have honored Millsaps College. We will begin tonight with this year's Livesay Awards. The Livesay Award honors the spirit of commitment in which Jim Livesay, 1920 to 2001, served the college as an alumnus, a member of the college administration, and as a volunteer. At his retirement in 1987, a group of alumni established the Jim Livesay Award to honor him. Alumni Board President Dr. Lynda Lee awarded the first Livesay to him, saying, "The Livesay Award will be given each year in recognition of outstanding service and dedication to Millsaps College. The recipient should exhibit a spirit of volunteerism, leadership, and support that its namesake has exemplified." Bryan will present tonight's first Livesay Award.
One of our Millsaps traditions is the fourth night ceremony, where we formally welcome the freshman class to campus and share the values of our community. At that event, we light candles and we read these words: "The light you have received tonight represents two things. When you leave Millsaps at the conclusion of your undergraduate career, your charge is to spread this light and our Millsaps values wherever you may go. You will make a difference in the world by employing what you have learned here, and as loyal Millsaps alumni, you will illuminate for others the value of a liberal arts education. Secondly, this light is your beacon home. No matter how far and wide you go, Millsaps will always be the place that welcomes you back with open arms." Our first Livesay Award winner tonight, Ashley Schettler, exemplifies our Millsaps values in everything that she does, and I'm thrilled to welcome her home tonight to receive this award. Ashley was an active member of the Millsaps campus as a member of Delta 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 and the campus ministry team. She graduated in 2006 with a BA in European Studies. After graduation, she began her career in human resources. Anyone who knows her appreciates this perfect fit. In fact, Ashley was already on this path when she served on her sorority standards committee, showing compassion while she was disciplining. Ashley began giving back to the college as a member of the Alumni Association Board of Directors. Her wise counsel is always appreciated by our office, and we also appreciate her honesty about the things that we need to improve. Her sense of humor has delighted fellow board members on many a Zoom call, and she always makes sure that the work that we do is fun as well as meaningful. In fact, Joy and I have told Ashley that she is not allowed to retire from the alumni board ever. She is our first permanent board member. I am also thankful for Ashley's service as an alumni chapter volunteer. She has an absolute gift for connecting Millsapians wherever she goes. While in Dallas, she was always willing to assist with our chapter events, and I'm convinced that our good turnout for those events was because of her enthusiasm. We are looking forward to seeing what she can accomplish in her new home of Charlotte. And finally, I am most appreciative of Ashley's willingness to serve as an alumni mentor. She has specifically turned her attention to assisting our Millsaps students over the last couple of years. She has given generously of her time to large groups, as when she was featured as a Pathways speaker, and to students one-on-one. When we bring prospective students to campus, one of the things that we talk about is the power of our alumni network. And Ashley is a shining example of this. I know that if we connect her to a student, she will answer them immediately. She makes herself available to give career advice by text, meeting our students exactly where they are. Ashley, thank you for being a loyal major and a devoted volunteer. You make our work in the alumni office a delight. For your volunteerism, your dedication, and your continued support of Millsaps, we are honored to present the Livesay Award for 2023 to you. Please come forward to receive your award from Dr. Perigin.
Well, thank you so much. This is so incredibly humbling, especially knowing some of my predecessors for this award, like Lisa Garvin, who happens to be in the room too. Exactly, yes, Lisa. One of the things that I think has been really incredible over the past however many years it's been, is just the opportunity to get to connect with students on campus. Initially, I'll be honest, when Tom Shima called me and said, hey, we have this seat, it's open, would you be willing to join? I said, sure, and I kind of came at this with a really selfish angle. Working in human resources, you always want to stay relevant. You always want to know what the next generation is thinking when it comes to the workplace. And one of the things I have been absolutely astounded by is the absolute quality of seniors that we have who are graduating. And I think that's been the thing that has kept me coming back again and again and again. The rising seniors that we have are making an incredible impact in the world even before they graduate. So if you haven't had a chance to get involved with some of our students, I would encourage you to do so, because what I've gotten from those relationships far exceeds anything that I've given in terms of time, advice, helping them negotiate that first salary, so hopefully some of it can come back here. Whatever the case may be, it's been really incredible to get to connect with our students, stay engaged on campus, and also get to participate in the amazing programs that we have in any city. Being a human resources professional, I've also had the opportunity to relocate from Washington, D.C. to Dallas and now to Charlotte. And the thing that amazes me the most about Millsaps Network is the fact that no matter what city you show up in, inevitably there's another Millsaps grad there too. So thank you so much. This is so incredibly humbling. And yeah, up next, Ryan.
I would now like to welcome my colleague Brad Ewing, Director of Development, to present our second Livesay Award.
Good evening. Shortly after joining Millsaps in 2013, I attended a ceremony on campus. It was a reunion of Navy V-12 members and the raising of their special flag. I knew little about the program, just what I'd read online in advance of that ceremony, including that more than 125,000 men participated at some 131 colleges and universities in preparation for service during World War II, and that it saved many institutions that were struggling with enrollment. The event at Millsaps that day included a dozen or so Millsaps V-12ers. As you might imagine, it was a serious and mostly stoic tribute. One by one, I met each V12er and his family and offered my thanks for their service. They were all gracious and humble, a true reflection of the greatest generation. Among the group was Bob Donaldson. I was introduced to him and told that he was the inspirational leader of the bunch. I did not know it at the time, but to borrow a line from Casablanca, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. We communicated by email, phone calls, FaceTime, and one-on-one visits. I cherish them all. Our meetings took place at his home on Belhaven Street, just a few blocks from here. Also at his independent living apartment outside of Dallas, and many other places. No matter the topic, serious or light, Bob made me feel better. I cannot adequately describe how he did this, but I suppose it was because of his calm demeanor, his soothing voice, and his grateful perspective. Bob had the same effect on others as well. Here are some comments from my colleagues and friends who coordinated that 2013 V12 flag ceremony. Alumnus Kay Barksdale, who's here with us this evening, a longtime Millsaps employee who worked closely with the Navy V12ers, had this to say. Bob Donaldson was a unique leader who kept impeccable records on some 200 Navy V12 alumni. He and his executive committee of 5 men, met with us regularly on campus to discuss their plans for reunions and special patriotic events, and to make sure that they were active participants in the life of the college. It was their idea to establish the V12 scholarship, and they personally interviewed each applicant for many years. They created their own V12 flag, and they also convinced President George Harmon that the group's collective, outright, and planned giving qualified for recognition on Founders Tower. Although he was the leader and primary creator and contributor of all things V12, Bob was never front and center. He was always there making sure that all went as planned, but he appointed a master of ceremonies for each event, and he gave credit to our staff many times for work that he had done himself. He was a unique leader. 2001 graduate Brooks Brower was the college's associate director of alumni relations for many years. She too was close to Bob. She shared these comments. Bob Donaldson was a man of intention. His generosity of spirit was unmatched. With every detail, he considered multiple perspectives, and that meant everyone was cared for with grace. He was direct, he had a mission, and he loved big. Millsaps College, the V12ers, and our country are all better because of Bob Donaldson. And Mayor Beth Kitchings, who's also with us this evening, who served as Director of Alumni and Parent Relations for over a dozen years, talked to Bob nearly every week, right up until his passing last fall. Mayor Beth remembers Bob this way. I met Bob because he was the shepherd of the Navy V12 alumni group at Millsaps, as well as the scholarship provided by them for Millsaps students. We connected over the fact that he lived in my former house in Belhaven, and because one of the V12ers used to live in my office on campus when the building was a dorm. He shared so many stories about his life and his love for his family, and he offered me lots of wisdom. We encouraged each other through losses and tough times. Bob was an optimist, an unfailingly kind. He treasured his V12 friends and spent long hours keeping up with all of them. The last time we talked, he called to tell me that he was in the hospital. He never wanted me to worry. Bob was a remarkable man and a dear friend. His shoes will be hard to fill. The program for tonight's event tells you that Bob is being recognized posthumously with the Jim Livesay Award for his tireless efforts to keep the V12ers connected to each other and to Millsaps. It mentions that he spearheaded the work to endow a scholarship that bears the group's name, which provides much-needed financial aid to deserving students. Bob personally gave to both the scholarship and the annual fund, while also securing matching funds from his longtime employer, Chevron. All of this is true and is certainly worthy of the college's highest recognition for service to the institution. But that's not the whole story. Bob is also tonight's recipient because he was a standard for decency, honesty, and kindness. Bob was a giver. Yes, he gave of his time and his financial resources, as you've heard. But more significantly, to those of us who knew him, Bob had an endless reservoir of love and caring from which he gave every day. This evening, we salute his contributions to Millsaps College, as well as the way he touched so many of us. We miss you, Bob. Bob is represented here tonight by his son Ashley and daughter-in-law Susan. At this time, I ask Ashley to accept the Jim Livesay Award and to share a few words.
Well, it is a very great honor for me to be back here. It's been a long time since I've been on this campus because I had the opportunity to be at Millsaps back in 1970 and 71, but things changed and I finished my education over at Belhaven College. But my father, you can't hardly talk about my father without talking about my mother. She was so instrumental in him. But he made a major decision when he was a young boy in Correll County, Texas, out there in the cotton fields, picking by hand, not like we know today with the cotton pickers and everything. He decided to join the U.S. Navy, and they in turn sent him to Jackson, Mississippi, and he was able to get the majority of his education here and his degree. But along the way, a very important factor happened. He was attending some Bible function at Belhaven, and he met this beautiful young lady who eventually became his wife and my mother. And from there, and like I said, that was the beginning of his career, and he did not have a clue about it. Joining the Navy, coming to Millsaps, and then from there he joined Calco, which as we all know it now is Chevron, and moved up the ladder to where he was general manager of the Eastern region and finally went overseas as managing director of Chevron UK, president of Offshore Operators, Inc. He had the opportunity to deal with a lot of people in Parliament in London. He was very good friends with Margaret Thatcher's husband and would have cocktails a lot of times at number 10 Downing Street. Wouldn't tell me about what they discussed because he was very private, and as was my mother. But it was always interesting to know the people and the associations he had. But as he made these trips, as he made this move in his life, he never forgot about the people he worked with, his family, his friends, and he was always there, along with my mom, to help when he could, whether it was financially, whether it was for advice, or just people in trouble. A gentleman one time had a serious heart issue in Lafayette, Louisiana, had to get to New Orleans to Ochsner Hospital, couldn't wait for an ambulance. So he got hold of the pilot of the Goose, which was a belly landing plane, and flew him in there. And this was not part of policy within Chevron, but he didn't care. And at a picnic celebration, a lady came up to my mother and thanked her for what my dad did because he saved his life. But that's what he would do. He would go out for everybody and help them. And one of the things that he didn't realize when he retired, they knew they wanted to move back to Jackson and settled in on Belhaven Street by Belhaven College. And he did not have a clue that he would wind back up here at Millsaps working with the V12 program. But he spent, as Brad indicated, many, many hours working with the people, the other V12ers, and that was his commitment. And in his retirement, he never took off that Navy cap. I think he even wore it to bed a lot of times. But he was so proud of that. So I thank you, the committee, for the Livesay Award and his recognition of his work and his effort for society and the betterment of this college, and hope the biggest tribute he could have is the college continues the V12 program, sponsoring scholarships for those deserving to move forward. So to the committee, thank you, and thank you for your attendance today.
Now I would like to introduce Harvey Fiser. Harvey has been at Millsaps for 20 years as a member of the L School of Management faculty and has recently been named Dean. He will present the award for Outstanding Young Alumnus, which is presented annually to an alumnus or alumna of Millsaps College who has shown promise in his or her chosen profession or in service to the broader community and has demonstrated a continuing loyalty, support, and advocacy for the college. Harvey?
Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing our Young Alumnus of the Year. This year's award winner has had an incredibly diverse and impactful career, even at his young age. A leader in the technology industry, Ryan Zagone has focused his efforts on the financial inclusion and equity. Ryan currently works at Wise, formerly TransferWise, an international payments company renowned for providing customer transparency in hidden bank fees. Ryan has served on the advisory board of the United Nations Financial Inclusion Initiative, has served on the steering committee for the Federal Reserve's Payments Innovation Task Force, and on panels at the International Monetary Fund. Since his days as a Millsaps student, Ryan has always given back to this community. These days, Ryan is an angel investor an advisor to the men's leadership and development program called Everyman. This program, featured in the New York Times, the Today Show, and the Joe Rogan Experience, helps build leadership and emotional skills through group meetings and wilderness excursions to help them connect more deeply to themselves, their loved ones, and their purpose. Besides all of these outstanding career accolades that Ryan has amassed, nearest to our hearts is how he has stayed engaged with Millsaps College and has been such a service to our students. When Ryan was a student, he joined our annual economics trip to Washington, D.C. At that event, Professor Howard McMillan, who was former chair of the American Bankers Association, introduced Ryan and his cohort to the organization. Capitalizing on those introductions, Ryan landed a job with the American Bankers Association and later the Deloitte Center for Financial Services. I have to say, from that trip forward, I believe Howard McMillan was Ryan's idol. Paying it forward, our students have benefited from countless trips he has hosted to the American Bankers Association, not to mention the many Millsaps students he has mentored over the years. But no introduction of Ryan would be complete without a discussion of Ryan's style. Yes, Ryan has style. From the way he dresses to his home, he is well known. In 2011, the online magazine Apartment Therapy did a spread on his 330 square foot Georgetown apartment, calling it distinctly masculine and simultaneously rustic and refined. And his dress for success extended to his student days at Millsaps. For those of you who remember, I think Regina Italiano is here. Always well put together and ready for a day at the office, most days. There was one of those very few days that Ryan decided to wear jeans to Millsaps. Never one to pass up an opportunity to wamp it up, he decided to also put on his cowboy boots. And, well, why not a cowboy hat? Ryan didn't count on the tornado that happened to be making its way to Millsaps that day. Unfortunately, Ryan had to come to the Murrah Hall basement shelter. Little did he realize that his idol, Howard McMillan, would also need to evacuate to the exact same location. Cowboy hat and all, Howard could only say one thing: I didn't know it was dress-up day. Ryan, Howard is no longer with us to say this to you, but he would be proud and honored of what you have accomplished. And now we congratulate you, and we tip our hat on this outstanding accomplishment. Congratulations to Ryan Zagone on being the 2023 Young Alumnus of the Year.
Well, I didn't know this was a roast. Thank you for those comments. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for the recognition. I'll tell you a story around how I got to Millsaps. I'm from Baton Rouge originally, and my goal of my high school time was to leave Louisiana, to see the world. My junior year, I applied for a school and got early admission to a university up north. I spent my summer of my junior year of high school studying early up north. And my plan was to come back south, finish high school, go back to this university. In my senior year of high school, one night, I lost a lung. My lungs collapsed. I spent most of my senior year in and out of hospitals, kind of recovering from that. And it became clear then that I would not be able to travel far from Baton Rouge. So working with a college counselor, she said, if you're looking to leave and you want some type of academic challenge, it's not really a question. There's one school in Jackson that will do that for you. And it was Millsaps. So I came here with the intention of spending this freshman year still healing, with the intention of likely transferring back north. What I found here was something I didn't know I even wanted. It was this sense of community. Here I felt cherished, I felt led, I felt challenged. It was a community and a feeling that allowed me to thrive. And by the end of that freshman year, it wasn't a question if I was leaving or staying. I was here, roots in the ground. This really became a home for me. I look back on that time with thanks, but also a belief that losing the lung and going through all that was the universe kind of nudging me in a different direction, and in a direction that I was meant to be in. I wish it was a less dramatic nudge, but I'm hard-headed, and sometimes that's what it takes. But what I found here was a really amazing community. It's a sense of community that I have learned to value. It's what I've taken from Millsaps and cherish in my adult life today. It's what took me from Millsaps to Washington, D.C., much with the support of Howard McMillan and those really critical initial introductions. And it's been the last 11 years in New York, working in banking in the tech sector. So I have immense gratitude to Millsaps for exposing me and teaching me to appreciate the sense of community. While here at Millsaps, an important piece of that community, it was the teachers, it was the faculty, it was the students. For 3 years of that time, I was a student worker in the business office for esteemed Regina Italiano. And in my time, I anointed myself with a number of roles that I ended as senior regional manager with honors. roles that I entirely made up and that this school luckily indulged me with. They gave me name tags and plaques and allowed me to introduce myself to many people around campus as these made-up titles. But to Regina, thank you for you became my adopted mom at Millsaps. So I really appreciate our relationship. I really cherish you, and thank you for being here. So thank you to the college for this recognition. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and to be with you today.
Our final award tonight is for the 2023 Distinguished Alumnus. Our presenter is Murray Underwood, who received this award himself in 1989. It is given annually to an alumnus or an alumna who exhibits the values of Millsaps and is distinguished in the following areas: professional achievement, service to society, and service and support of Millsaps College. Murray?
I'm the class of 1963, so I'm senior to a lot of folks. I realize when looking at the program that a lot of my comments are going to be duplicative, but I am not deterred. Bill Croswell has been active in civic and community affairs. He's a successful businessman, and he is a faithful Millsaps alum. The Madison County Chamber of Commerce has selected him Businessman of the Year, and he has served on the board and is president of that chamber. He has also served 2 terms on the board of the Metro Jackson Chamber of Commerce and been named their Volunteer of the Year. He has been on the board and treasurer of Chamber Plus, the for-profit health insurance provider of the Metro Jackson Chamber, and he has served on various committees and boards of the city of Ridgeland, where his business is located. Bill, along with his brother Bob, has operated Kraft Croswell for over 50 years. You've no doubt seen their trucks running around the Metro over the years and wondered, what do they do? Well, today, Kraft Croswell is one of the largest flooring contractors in the Southeast. A couple of their signature projects include the Superdome following Katrina and the skyboxes at Tiger Stadium. Currently, they are working on a Ritz-Carlton in Naples and the new STEM facility at Ole Miss. Bill and his brother were among the founders 31 years ago of StarNet Flooring Buying Cooperative. Today, it has over 180 members with 400 locations in North America, and it is responsible for over $4 billion in commercial flooring sales. Bill has served as both the treasurer and the chairman of the StarNet board. Bill has never taken off his purple and white. He is a member of the class of 1966 and a 4-year letterman in baseball. He was in Who's Who and received the Wall Street Journal Award in economics. He was president of the KAs when they broke ground on their new house. That was 1966. So I guess that house is now, 55 years old, give or take. But I lived in the old house, so I appreciate the new house bill. He participated in the Millsaps Junior Year Abroad program for 11 months and received his certificate in European Studies from the University of Aix-Marseille. He failed to put in his notes to me that there were other participants on that junior year abroad, 4 co-eds. And I happen to know that because one of those co-eds was my little sister. He wrote a sports column in the P&W under the pseudonym, you ready? U, I, Fool. The letter U, the letter I, fool. He wrote that column until a trustee got upset with his writing and suggested to the administration that he should cease and desist. He points out that he was not a member of Phi Beta Kappa. We didn't have a chapter then, but Bill wouldn't have been a member anyway. Bill Croswell has never quit caring about Millsaps College. He and Governor William Winter were masters of ceremony for the multimedia presentation celebration of Millsaps' 100th anniversary. He is a longtime member of the President's Society and has chaired the annual fund. He worked with the athletic department in raising funds for the new track, and he provided the new carpeting for the Career Center in Murrah. Bill has served 3 terms as president of the Alumni Association and is currently on the School Advisory Board. He is an early, maybe a founding member of the famous Tuesday Luncheon Club, the TLC. That began meeting the first Tuesday in the month, starting in 1963. I think it started out as a group of KAs, but it expanded over the years to include anyone from that era. They still meet, and often have someone from the college speak. There is no age limit because I'm allowed to go. They've sponsored the Tiki Bar at homecoming, and Bill and Eugene Countess have put on several Crescent Center capers in New Orleans, which have been well attended by Millsapians. Bill Croswell has been an outstanding ambassador for Millsaps College. He is one of those people that you instantly like and you don't forget. My first experience with Bill was in the fall of 1962 during fraternity rush, when this hotshot baseball player comes bopping across North State Street from Murrah High School. I don't remember exactly how the system worked then, who picks whom, but Bill became my little brother, and that was a lucky day for me. We have been dear friends for 61 years. Join me in welcoming Bill Croswell.
Whew. Well, I have to admit that I'm a little nervous for 2 reasons. One, I realize I'm the last thing between you and the martinis next door. And secondly, I had a beautiful speech written and I left it at home. So you're going to get the Cliff Notes version. I want to thank you, Dr. Perigin, Dr. Dunn, the distinguished members of the Millsaps community, and my dear friends, and my family. It was probably, I forget, in the early 90s, my daughter couldn't figure out where she wanted to go to school, but she knew it was going to be out of the state. We made the runs out of state, and she came back and said, well, I'll go to Millsaps. And she graduated from Millsaps, and she's here tonight, Allison, with my very special grandchildren, Jill and Ben. And I want to accompany them. I put in my speech, it was and her husband and their dad, but sometimes that means they were divorced. But no, he's really her husband. I caught that faux pas there. But so anyway, I want to thank Murray for reading that list, kind of like O'Hara wrote it. And I want to just give a little, by way of explanation. It was a fairly long list, and there's a reason for that. Is that back when I first got started in the 70s and 80s, I did all that because I knew that I've been reading the Clarion Ledger, and in the obituaries, whoever had the most stuff by their name would get first column, left-hand side. And so I busted it. I mean, I was president of this and that Millsaps that and whatever. Well, it turns out about the I guess in the 90s and 2000, the paper changed up, and I realized that didn't work anymore, but I was already committed. And they were letting everybody die in alphabetical order. And the bad part about all of that is even today, they charge you by the word, and I'm having to go through and pull stuff out, so I ain't got to pay for it. But that's a true story, and I'm sticking to it. See, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, this night tonight is about Millsaps and what it has meant to me. If I was asked what's the best thing that happened to you at Millsaps College, I say she's sitting right over here. This is my wife, O'Hara. We've been married for 56 years, and I sometimes tell people it's been 33 years are the happiest years of my life. I made that comment one day, and a gentleman came up and said, "Excuse me, sir, would you come over here?" I said, "Were all those in a row?" But yes, it's been a thing. But so I'm going to give you my Millsaps story, and I'm going to do the Cliff Notes version. It started when I was a sophomore at Murrah. Bob and our father was killed in a car wreck at age 36. I was 15. Bobby was 10. Youngest brother was 3. And all of a sudden, our lives changed. And my mother and I became parents. And that being the case, I ended up saying, well, I need to go to college somewhere close. And I told my folks, well, I think I'd like to go to Millsaps because I heard they need some baseball players. And I did. And then everybody says, you're crazy because you don't have the grades for that. And I upheld that. I didn't have the grades for that, and I pretty well maintained that for my entire career. So anyway, it was my sophomore year here. I met O'Hara. She was a freshman, and it was in the spring. And our first date, we were going to a beatnik party at the KA house. But we had to go to my brother Bob's basketball game at Harvey Junior High School first. And you think those people over there at Harvey were looking at you funny when you walk in with, the eyes, the black eyes and whatever. But that's what we did. We were a family and we took care of each other. It was during that time that this in loco parentis was getting to me mentally and emotionally. And I was as Murray was saying, I was at a Calmega open house, and these ladies, his sister included, they were friend girls, not girlfriends, told me about this opportunity for this junior year abroad program. And I said, bingo. And so I went and got my research, and I did it, got what I needed to do about it, and so I go home and tell my mother what I think what I need to do next year. At which time she says, have you lost your mind? And said, no. She said, yes, you have. And so I said, well, you've got to sign a paper for me to get a visa so I could study there. No. So I said, you think about it. Well, she thought about it all right. When I get back to campus that weekend on Monday, I found out that she had called Dean John Christmas. And this is the Dean John Christmas story I'm telling you today. This is my guru. He saved my life. John Christmas called me. I got the little pink slips we used to get. We call them Christmas cards that you used to get in the mailbox. So please see me now. I go to see him, and my mother had called him and told him to please work with me to talk me out of this particular process. And so we talked about it, and he said, you just need to think about it and be sure this is what you really want to do. I said, I've thought about it. So I go home on the Friday, and I come bent for hell. I'm going to get that paper signed. I'm going to get to go to France. Well, I get there, and my mother's answer, of course, was no. So being a good little son, we lived on Briarwood Drive up there on I-55. I storm out of the house, and I walk all the way back to the Kaya house. I showed her. Again, the next Monday, I get a Christmas card. I go see John Christmas. He says, Bill, your mother's going to sign the paper. And I just jumped up and reached out and hugged his neck, said, this is going to be wonderful. And then, as Dean Christmas could only do it, because he was one of the oldest people I've known. He was always almost 35. He looked at me and he says, Bill, you got to go home and get your mother to sign this paper. She's not going to sign it and mail it into here. You've got to go home and get it. So I went home, and we had the talk with my mother, and she agreed to sign the paper and let me go. Now, you flash forward. Here is a 17-year-old who has had 2 C- years of Senior Buffkin Spanish, is going to live with a French family in France. Now, that's a challenge. That's a challenge. But what that did for me gave me the self-confidence and the courage to do what I've done for the rest of my life. And that would only happen here at Millsaps. And I'm sure each of you have been here as students and all there's probably 1 or 2 people here that was pretty much, when you had the fork in the road, they helped you go to where you needed to go and do what you needed to do. And that happened to me here. And that is why I have this love for the college. And this is why I keep on doing what I do. And I'm really not worried about the obituary. So this is my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's evenings like this that made me so appreciate my job. I am a fortunate guy to get to be at an event like this and hear the stories of the impact of Millsaps College on our alumni. Each year we also do a scholarship dinner, and we get to hear about students whose lives are being impacted because of the investment alumni and friends make in their lives. And tonight we get to hear how this place changed their lives of our alumni in such a significant way, and also to hear how alumni have really changed this place. It's a real pleasure and an honor for me to be a part of the Millsaps family and to be here. and just this wonderful opportunity to hear these wonderful stories. So I say congratulations to all of our alumni honorees, and thank you for attending tonight's awards ceremony. Please join me and the honorees and President and Mrs. Perigin for a reception in our event space. Thank you very much.